15 years to save for your child's college education. But what about daycare? In Maryland and 30 other states, it costs more on average to put your baby in daycare than it does to send your teenager to a public in-state college.
Childcare costs in Maryland are among the highest in the country, and at the same time, the number of stay-at-home moms nationwide is on the rise. We're looking into what's behind the upward trend and why this issue is about so much more than just dollars and cents. Sharon Peer has a demanding full-time job, but she doesn't get a paycheck for it. She's one of the growing number of stay-at-home moms in the U.S. It's a reversal of a decades-long trend that saw more and more mothers working outside of the home. A recent Pew Research study found that in 2012, 29% of all mothers identified as stay-at-home moms, up from a record modern-era low of 23% in 1999.
We have 5 kids, so we have a lot of children at home, and so there's a lot of childcare costs, and just thinking about the expense of childcare versus what I would bring in working, it didn't always seem to be the best option. It make a lot of sense financially.
It's a question many families with young children must consider. Advocacy group Childcare Aware points out that in Maryland, childcare costs can amount to more than college tuition. Steve Rohde of the Maryland Family Network says he's noticed that trend for some time.
We always talk about that it's even greater when you look at it in terms of young families. It's a greater expense because young families are at the lower end of their income potential, whereas families typically who have children in college are at the higher end of their income potential.
The average cost of childcare for an infant at a center-based program for a year is just over $13,000. Compare that to the average yearly in-state tuition and fees at a public college in Maryland, which is a little more than $8,200. It's a nearly $5,000 difference. With numbers like those, financial planner Kirk says it's not surprising more moms are choosing to leave the workforce.
You still may make a little more money by working, but it may not be substantial. So when you have 2 incomes, sometimes you get bumped into a higher tax bracket. So your after-tax take-home pay really isn't that high.
So why is early childhood care so expensive? Kinder says it goes beyond the state's high cost of living. It's simple supply and demand.
Maryland tends to have a lot more dual income families than a lot of other states. So when you have a lot more of that situation, you're going to have a bigger demand for childcare.
Now the caterpillar is ready to change.
Surprisingly, most daycare teachers make less than half of what their public school counterparts make on average. But the state's push to improve early childhood education through additional voluntary accreditation and professional development is also driving up operating costs.
The state of Maryland, as other states are doing, are putting into effect quality standards so that programs go beyond just basic licensing requirements.
Oh, excellent! Good job!
Research shows it's worth the added expense in the long run. The first 5 years of life are the most essential to children's brain development and can be an indicator of their future success.
Cost should be an element, but it should also be what am I paying for, and am I getting the most value from that? So we urge parents to look at very high quality programs for their children because it does make a difference.
Yeah, you got it.
That's why, as a stay-at-home mom, Sharon Peer tries to find fun and educational ways to get her boys out of the house and interacting with other children. While her decision to leave her job was partly financial, it's also a choice she finds personally fulfilling.
They're only little ones, and when you're working full-time or even working part-time, you miss so much of it. And so I just decided to take this time and be with them when they're little. And when they get older and they're more independent, then I can think about going back to work.
The Childcare Aware report that I mentioned also compared the average yearly cost of preschool daycare in Maryland to public college tuition and fees. Now, there was a smaller gap of $900, but daycare was still more expensive. And for families who need help, the Maryland Family Network has a free service called Locate that can help you find the childcare option that works best for your family.
And we have more information on the Maryland Family Network on our website. But, Trent, we're also seeing some changing trends in the options that people are using.
Yeah, that's right. Take a look, Kelly. Here, these are numbers from the Maryland Department of Education, and they show that despite the rising costs of childcare, that the number of center-based facilities is actually increasing, and they expect that trend to continue. So there, it goes all the way to 2018 here.
What about home daycare? Now, how does this apply to folks who have the daycares run out of their homes?
Well, the news is not quite as good for those facilities. If we just take a look down here, scroll a little bit. Here they have numbers for projected home care declines. You can see this is 2009, this yellow bar right here. You can see there's been a steady decline already, and they do expect that trend to continue. So we do have these numbers on our website. You can find these infographics and read them for yourself at abc2news.com/infocus.
All right, thanks a lot, Trey.